People are losing their minds trying to figure out what this thing is. The ancient Egyptian Sabu, or Schist disc, is a meticulously designed 5,000-year-old artifact that's just impractical for just about every explanation they've tried to force on it. And a tour guide at the Cairo Museum claims it's part of a lost technology that he saw with his own eyes.
Warning, Philip is a professional mind blower. The topics discussed are not for the closed-minded.
Carved from a single piece of rock, this disc was found in the First Dynasty tomb of Prince Sabu, dating it way back to the Old Kingdom around 3000 BC. That's 5,000 years old, one of the oldest Egyptian artifacts ever found, but many claim it's even older than that, inherited by the First Dynasty from much longer ago, because it doesn't quite match anything else found from that same period. Measuring about 2 feet in diameter, it's made from a fairly brittle stone called schist, and no one can rightfully explain why it's shaped the way it is. Never mind it being carved from a single piece of stone, allegedly using the most primitive tools imaginable from the earliest days of Egypt. We also have no idea how they even made this thing in the first place. A circle with 3 fins curving inward that get as thin as 1/5 of an inch, that's half a centimeter thick at the tips, surrounded by 3 equal gaps and a center hole, which clearly looks like it was intended to be mounted onto something to spin, possibly part of a larger mechanism. It was found completely broken apart, so what we're seeing here is the reassembled artifact stored at the Cairo Museum. They've tried explaining it with everything in the book, calling it a flower vase, a candle holder, or even an ornamental bowl. Yeah, can't wait to eat my cereal out of that thing. None of these descriptions quite make any sense. Like, why on earth would anyone go to the incredible length of designing such a difficult object, mind you using their most primitive tools as this was from the First Dynasty, possibly earlier, into a complex shape that just isn't practical for any of these proposed purposes? The debunkers will tell you, oh, they were just incredible craftsmen and they carved this design because they just felt like it, and if you question it, you're disrespecting history. Look, this is a vase from around the same era, and although it's equally impressive to carve something like this out of granite, which I actually made another video on it, you can see it looks like a vase. Here's a bowl, which also looks like what we expect it to, practical for its intended purpose. Not to mention, Egyptian artifacts from later eras became considerably less sophisticated as time went on, so did they just forget how to carve intricate designs like this? Or did the First Dynasty Egyptians find this disc from people that existed before them? The real ancient vases, bowls, and urns were all built with clear practical uses in mind, whereas the schist disc almost looks like it was part of something else. Perhaps a mechanical gear of sorts, a piece of ancient technology lost to time, as there are other Egyptian artifacts that look almost exactly like gears. Maybe something like these were used in combination with the schist disc. Others have even gone to the length of recreating exact replicas of the disc themselves to experiment on, and found out that when a bit of air pressure is applied, it actually surprisingly spins pretty effectively. Maybe it was part of a forgotten timekeeping or star tracking device similar to the Antikythera mechanism of the Greeks. But still, there are others who claim there is a far, far more advanced purpose for this disc. Funny old world host Johanna James tells a story a tour guide told her while taking her through the Cairo Museum, who says his father, Abdel Hakim Youssef, was allegedly part of a team experimenting on this very disc back in the 80s. They made a 1-to-1 replica of it, stuck it on a rotating spindle, and spun it around real fast while blasting it with specific sound frequencies. All of this the tour guide claims to have seen with his own eyes. After a while of fine-tuning the frequencies projected onto the disc, what appeared to be an infinity symbol of pure energy formed around it. When they threw water and other small stones at it, they would be caught in an anti-gravitational force field that defied physics. The stones and even the water droplets they threw into this force field would be briefly suspended in mid-air around this energy field before falling to the ground. And they repeated this many times with different objects and elements, each of them briefly hovering around the disc with no known explanation. Yes, you heard it here, so it must be true. An ancient anti-gravity device. Can't wait for the debunkers to clip that soundbite. Nah, if this actually happened, it would be all over the news. Everyone in the scientific community would obviously be talking about it. Oh, that's adorable. History has a long pattern of silencing those who propose clean and easily accessible forms of energy that don't support the oil and gas industrial complex, like zero-point energy. But don't worry, that's all totally fake and for entertainment purposes only. At the end of the day, even if it wasn't made for anti-gravity levitation, but something more innocent, like, I don't know, a mechanical water irrigation system. Still, how in the world did they make this?